Atchuthan, parents, teachers, students, well-wishers, and my dear friends. So, so I am very proud to announce these students are going to share their knowledge towards us. So it's the time for sharing. So now I call upon Berlini to talk about the pros Lahore attack. I'll give the site to Berlini.
Good evening, everybody. Today I wish to talk about the pros Lahore attack. Actually, this pros is spoken by the international cricket player Kumar Sangakkara in Colin Chowdhury lecture in the Lords in England. And this pros in this pros, Kumar Sangakkara expressed his love and passion towards his country and his countrymen, and also we can notice how much love that Sri Lankan people have towards the cricket, the whole cricket team and the game cricket. So in this post, Sangakkara starts with explaining the war experience he had for the first time, and he mentions that he starts with it as he was fortunate during his life that he had never experienced violence for his first hand, which means firstly he mentions about the war, but still it was said by in 3rd of March in 2009. But on that time, Sri Lankan people had faced the war situations, and the geographical circumstances in Sri Lanka was very terrible at that time. But even though his own country has faced that type of war, Kumar Sangakkara didn't experience it well. So in this statements, if we start with this, there were two type of criticizers in this prose, because one type of criticizer said that Kumar Sangakkara is one type of criticizer accept his statements that he has so much love and passion towards his country and countrymen, whereas the other side criticizers started to comment on his statement that this cricket player Kumar Sangakkara is uh, earning personal sympathy towards personal sympathy from people, because in that lecture he doesn't want to talk about these vast stuffs. So some criticizers do that kind of things in social medias on that time. If we look at Kumar Sangakkara, generally, this man is an international cricket player from Sri Lankan cricket team, and he had achieved so many successful things in his career in a positive way. But even though he has achieved many things, some people used to disagree with his statement, because Kumar Sangakkara included the war circumstances which was held in Sri Lanka also. Actually, he first his war experienced in Pakistan, in a place called as Lahore. The Sri Lankan team in 2009 went to Pakistan for a cricket match, and on their second test tour, uh, they they were they were forced to face a war situation, but they knew that there was a vast circumstances in Pakistan too. But as sportsmen, they had full of their concentration in sports, and they were more focused in sports matters than these war circumstances, and they were not aware of these pain of war situations. But when these people get attacked to the gunshots and bullets, the speaker mentions some players' names too: Mehala, Tilan, and Ajanta Mentis and Taranga Paranavidana. They were attacked very forcefully, and even Kumar Sangakkara was get attacked to this situation. So in this prose, we have many themes such as the devotion of countrymen of Sri Lanka. The soldiers were very strong in this Sri Lanka, and the another one is the cricket player Kumar Sangakkara and his fellow cricket players was very concerned about their sportsmanship, and even though they have faced so many terrible situations in Pakistan, they were not cowed and yelled for their match test. So Sangakkara mentions this to make the readers to prove how strong they are and also how to be strong at any situation. So Sangakkara, if we came along this poem, uh, at the start, sorry, prose, at the start of this prose, he mentions vast situations, and he said how they faced vast situation because they were in a bus stand, then the bus stand was in a still position, but unexpectedly, even in 30 seconds, they were forced to face a gunshot, and in this time, Sangakkara said some lines which help us to make a visual imagery that after they hearing the gunshots times, they were fell into above on each other to protect themselves. It helped us to get an imaginary view to see how they faced a terrible situation. And he mentions that he mentions about his own country and his capital of his country, that Kalampu. He mentions that Kalampu, even though there were many geographical circumstances, Kalampu faced the situation in a normal way, and people went to work, children went to school, and I played my cricket, which means his statement was seems like Colombo was a very Colombo seems like a normal place, whereas the north and other sites are filled with blood and wars. But some critics mentioned that even though Colombo didn't face as much as how the north people faced, but Colombo people also suffered due to these vast circumstances because they sent their children, they sent their son to the army forces, and some were troubles. So Colombo people didn't agree with his statements. And another thing that as a sportsman, as a great leader, he has showed his many aspects in this prose because in that critical time, I'm not sure that if I were Sangakkara or if I were the leader of Sri Lankan cricket team, I will be very cowed and discouraged by the situation. But Sangakkara didn't yell dog out, or he didn't decrease his strength to make other players to become weak, because as a leader he accepts that he is the one who wants to protect them and who wants to keep the other fellow sportsmen's mentality strong. So he mentions that we are Sri Lankans and we have the power to prevent any situation. So it shows his patriotism towards his country as well as the love and passion towards his cricket, because as a leader he know that how to behave in a certain situation to protect his fellow members. Even the another lecture, his one of his friends, this Tilan Tushara, mentioned that Sangakkara is the best leader ever he had. So we can confirm this by this his statements too, that Sangakkara followed his leadership as much as he can in a best way. And the third thing is, at the end of the this end of this prose, we can find it in the last one and two paragraphs, that when Sangakkara and his fellow members escaped from this situation, and when they arrived to the Air Force base and went to Kalambu, Javatnapura, he was stand at this checkpoint, and on that time he was forced to wait at that time. So, and at the moment he mentions that there was a soldier in this on that point, and that soldier, the Sri Lankan soldier, saw him, and he was slowly came to his way and asked, "How are you, sir? And I hope you are okay." So this shows the love. We can take the soldier as a normal human, normal citizen in this Sri Lanka, because we can see in many places that Sangakkara mentioned that Sri Lankan people have more love and passion towards their members, which shows Sri Lankans have many Sri Lankans admire the Sri Lankan cricket team mostly, and they have huge interest in this cricket game. And so when the soldier was there, and if when he asked about his health condition, he was very happy that a soldier who devoted himself for his country speaks with him and about his health condition. It shows how much devoted them. And the another thing is the soldier says one most highlighted thing in this prose, I think, among everything beyond Kumar Sangakkara's every word, the soldier was hit most to the readers because he mentions that it's okay for me if I die because it's my job and I am ready for this, which means he mentions that I am a soldier who born to die. I know this is a famous quote among every soldiers because they were born to die. That is the fact. So the soldier accepts the meaning of his life, and he knows he is the one who wants to protect every human being in Sri Lanka, and he accepts his situation. And but he says the next line that but if you die, then it will be a great loss for every people in Sri Lanka, which shows he keep. I think it's the best quality in human being because it's not easy to put someone in a big position than you, and it's not easy to you to step backward for yourself and keep someone for forward and pulling someone in front of you. But the soldier keep this good habit in his life because he knows that he was born to die, and at the same time, Sangakkara was born to make Sri Lankans proud. So in this position, Sangakkara mentioned that he was amazed by the soldier's words because it's not, the soldier, he didn't expect that words from the soldier. He knows that he would ask about his health condition, but he was not aware of that. The soldier would agree that he was the one who wanted to die, and I am the one who wants to make Sri Lankans proud and who wants to give pride to Sri Lanka. So Kumar Sangakkara mentions all these things to make the listeners understand because it was speech now. So to make the readers and listeners understand how much strong Sri Lankans are. And the another thing, in conclusion, I would say he has more patriotism and passion towards his towards his Sri Lankan family, the whole Sri Lankans, and his country and his countrymen who are the soldiers who die for protecting people. And another thing, as a captain, as a leader of the Sri Lankan group, he is a former cricketer now, but as a leader of Sri Lankan group, he did his best to keep others away from the danger zone. And the other fellow members who had came with him, who had come with him to Pakistan, mentioned that if Sangakkara was not there, I'm not sure if I can alive now or not, which shows us how Sangakkara encouraged other fellow cricket members to be strong and to be alive to uh, dive in the exact way. So the whole prose shows the patriotism, love, and the devotion of soldiers too. So that's the thing in this whole prose. I showed it as much as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Varni, for your wonderful explanation. That was very quite interesting. And I called Vardhya to talk about the poem The Eagle. I give a side to Vardhya.
Good evening, all of you. The Eagle. The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson portrays the swiftness and agility of the king of birds. The shortness of the poem is reference to an eagle that is ready to latch on onto its prey. It is like a monarch of nature, keeping a tragic distance from the metaphorical wrinkled sea crawling below. The poet is no doubt impressed by the bird's agility and capacity. The poem begins with the speaker's describing how a solitary eagle is standing on the top of a craggy cliff, from where he is perched with his crooked hands gripping the rocks. He can survey the whole azure world around and below him. Tennyson's eagle is in a real place of power, and as soon as he is ready to, and not a moment sooner he dives. In the final, he makes his surprise move, barreling down towards the water in search of prey. The poem is in two stanzas that is separated out to two sets of three lines known as tressets. These tressets follow a very simple rhyme scheme that conforms to a pattern of A, 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 B, B, B. The poem also makes use of a metrical pattern of iambic tetrameter. This means that each line contains four sets of two beats known as metrical feet. The first is unstressed and the second is stressed. It sounds something like da dum, da dum. Tennyson uses a number of poetic techniques with the eagle. These includes alliteration, cursor, personification, hyperbole. The later perhaps the easiest to spot. It occurs when a poet imbues a non-human creature or object with human characteristics. In this case, the eagle is described as having hands. It is also referred to as he rather than it, therefore increasing its agency and individuality. Another technique, uh, alliteration, occurs when words are used in succession or at least appear close together and begin with the same letter. A great example is in the first stanza with the use of reuse of the letter C. Uh, Cursora is another interesting technique that involves splitting a line of a verse in order to shift emphasize the last line of the first stanza with the comma falling after world is an example. The alliteration in the phrase lonely lands, there is also hyperbole, which is an extreme exaggeration in the phrase close to the sun. Is the eagle actually close to the sun? Not really. The sun is millions of miles away from the earth. Again, uh, Tennyson Tennyson used these devices to emphasize how its eagle is sitting on the top of the world where no other living being could possibly be even man. Thank you.
The terrace he is watching. I'll give the side to Marmita to talk about the poem.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to do on the terrace he is watching. The terrace he is watching was written by Wisława Szymborska. Her real name is Maria Wisława Anna Szymborska. She is a Polish poet, essayist, and a translator. She was born on 2nd July 1923 in Providence, Poland. She received international recognition when she won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1996. Wisława Szymborska tells about the poem. The terrace he is watching is the narrator waiting anxiously for a planet bomb to explode in a bar, watching and describing as they enter and leave the bar. The poem opens with the clock ticking with away the time. This seems to be to have given a subtle inference to the idea that our life numbered in the present numbered in the present world over. The countdown begins with only 4 minutes left for the bomb to go off. The continuous reminding of time keeps suspense and running high across the poem. The poem clearly depicts the callous nature of the ruthless and the terrorism. First stanza is summarizes the situation where a bomb is set at the bar to be exploded after 4 minutes. Most probably, the father of the terrorists exposed the events at a safe distance. The first stanza and second stanza tells about the introduction, creates suspense in the mind of the readers, understanding in the mind of there will be bomb blast within 5 minutes. And the narrator is viewing the incident and as a scene of a movie which shows his mental condition viewed of humanity. And the third stanza tells about the viewpoint of the terrorist is shown, and the first person narration brings his real time exploration at the bar. And the poet used the word yellow color symbolize the weakness. These pictures evoke sympathy in readers' minds about the innocent people who have to idea what terror avoid them. It seems the terrorist himself is happy about people leaving the bar, avoid the bomb. In the fourth stanza, narrator focusing a girl who is wearing a green ribbon. Green ribbon suggests the junk. She may be a junk school girl, and the poet is not sure of the fact of the girl, yet she is certain that it could be she ignored that when the dead bodies are carried. And uh, in the fifth stanza, narrator tells about the time in second depends the suspense. The incident is a lesson that shows impermanence of life. It can fly away at any moment without any notice. Six and seven stanza shows the larger picture. The waiting time suddenly end with short lines. Narrator's word explain the restless waiting over. And the innocent impersonal reporting seems to have given a cinematic effect to the poem. The terrorists are crossing the street, and the unexpected innocent civilians moving about in the vicinity. People going in and coming out of the shop sets. The scene as if it is one of the frame of a camera shot in a film. With the clock ticks away the time, the stage is set for a hard rending and hard nerve-wracking drama episodes in Philo. The poem presents the value of life, unexpected situations, and lack of emotions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mermida, for your wonderful explanation. Now I call Banian to talk about the poem Picmatch 1983. I give the side to Banian.
Good evening, everybody. Today I am going to talk about the poem Big Mesh 1983. It is written by the Sri Lankan poet Jasmine Gunawardena. The title Big Mesh suggests us the uh, very big mesh between two big schools, the Hindu College and the Central College of Colombo. Uh, but it further indicates that the racial violence which uh, done between the major groups, Tamil and Sinhalese. So we should the poet further indicates the relationship between the real gigantic match between the majority and the minority people and the cricket match between two schools. In the first stanza, the glimpsing the headlines in the newspaper. After the headlines in the newspaper, as racial violence is going on over the island, the tourists scatter for cover, and in the reception desk, they told the receptionists to cancel their rooms in case of viewing the temples and the holy mountains. Uh, Adams Peak is one of the holy mountains which is in the Sri Lanka. It is located in the Ratnapura district. Flashpoint in paradise is irony because paradise is it is called heaven, but it is referred to a flashpoint. And even the gone away boy means the abroad boy from Sri Lanka. He hoped to come to Sri Lanka to find his lost roots and lovers and take the talents and ability from Sri Lanka. The palm trees usually we can find it in the northern sides, so we can clearly find that the boy is from the northern side. But he says that during this racial violence, it is not romantic enough. He can be quite romantic in Toronto, which is in Canada. We can say Canada is his living place. In the next stanza, the poet focuses on the reason why the big match happens in 1983, which is called a Black July. Uh, it is clarifying that after the indication of the Sinhalese as a official language in 1985 56 by the language, because the language is very important to many people, as in the parliament, the politicians and other people speaks in Sinhalese, so the it is very difficult to communicate with each other. So it is very obvious that the language is very important in this country. In the next stanza, the poet further indicates the relationship between the match. Uh, it is the match between the schools and the match which gives us fear and high uh, and curiosity. Is then he takes more effects and indicates an incident which happens in the toll house of a minority person which who has many books. It is obvious that he is very educated because he has many books and pictures all over his home. He gets a call from a majority community because he tells and begs about his life. Uh, it is a strange life we are leading here just now. It is not a dull moment. He tells his strange life leading there because it is very isolated in his room with many books, and no one can complain abroad because it is racial violence. No one can complain to anybody. And when the curfew is your brave land means the caller's majority communication is clearly indicates here because the racial mobs was is Sinhalese and the minority who is living in the tall house will be the middle class person. Uh, s- he further indicates that is telling that the books are very useful and he indicates the books as much as his life. Uh, he's a drinking man because he nowadays he is stepping up intake quite a bit because he want to talk about many things to the caller, and finally he enters the call uh, as he tells that in many cases the mobs disconnected the uh, power in many rural areas, but here he tells that it is not the telephone call is not cutted. Then he pushes the phone, and in the few distance, the mobs are coming with the torch lights. It is very tragedy here because the house is going to be burned in a few moments. Uh, then here the poet further indicates the northern side of the country by telling the primary offense of the Jaffna, and it is very obvious that Petra is a capital and where Tamil people's business are very high there. Uh, the poet further indicates a flashback in his childhoods. It is very tragedy here because the old photographs are going to be burned. Uh, he tells that it is very tragedy and increase the curiosity of the reader what is going to happen next. And the blood in the khaki uniform indicates impurity of the uh, policeman, and the three boys are lying dying. The policeman didn't care about the three boys lying dying, and the all dead bodies are left over all, and the boy with the smashed bicycle in the corner of the road. The child is lying dead, and the two policemen are looking away. The two policemen may be the majority persons because they are not died. The little children who doesn't know anything about the racial violence and the indifference between the majority and the minority communications. But some person may be a minority who uh, stood under a board tree which seemed to be the protection of the Lord Buddha, but the neighbors are very inhumanity and uh, re- falls many shower of stick sandstone on him. It is very inhumanity and it gives us very angry to the neighbors. Then finally the poet shows us the very tragic moments. The Sri Lanka burns alive, and it is the reason of the politics and the politicians. So the language is the main rule in this poem, and the themes of these poems are violence, struggle, and endurance. Thank you.
That was a wonderful explanation, Manian. And now I call Arnavi to talk about the poem The Huntsman. I give the side to Arnavi.
Good evening to you all. The Huntsman by Edward Lowry. The Huntsman has been composed by the modern English poet Edward Lowbury. Lowbury's poems are known for their way of storytelling. During his long poetic career, he published 7 commercial collections. His fame mainly depends upon his unique use of humor, irony, paradox, and satire. Between 1936 to 85,